even get to cross.
What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and I am back with my Week 6 battle of the GBA D League. This week we are against Randy HLD Productions and his Texas Rangers. Make sure to go check him out. He'll be linked in the description below. Very underrated player and underrated content creator in the league. I think that his channel is probably one of the least known in the draft community. Make sure to go give him a look though, because he really should be very well known, is what I'm trying to say. Is his channel quality, his content quality is super high. I love it. Very fun to listen to, and he's a solid battler on top of that, despite his somewhat lack of experience in the format compared to a lot of the other coaches in this league. But with that said, he's still a very good player, and in my opinion, one of the strongest builders in the league. And yeah, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a fun game for sure, as the matchup is challenging. His team is freaking spooky. But you know what? Let's go ahead and dive right on into this. If you happen to miss the team builder for this particular battle, make sure to go check that out. It'll be linked in the first line of the description below. Just go click that, pause this video, go check that out so you can see the details on the Pokemon that I'm bringing here for this matchup. As once again, like always, a lot of thought goes into the team building process for these matches, and if you're interested in seeing those details, make sure to go check that out. Also, shout out to, I believe, Greg, who recorded this game for me for this week. Again, capture card not working, so I have to lean on my buds. Greg once again bailed me out on this one, so thank you, Greg, and thanks to Danke and Uzi for helping out with the genning of my mons. Now, let's go ahead and dive into this team matchup here. As my opponent, Randy, decided to bring the Tapu Koko, Hawlucha, Jellicent, Meloetta, Cloyster, and the Hydrei-GAWN. So very interesting team here that he decided to bring. Seeing the Tapu Koko, Hawlucha is no surprise whatsoever. I expected going in to see both of those Pokemon, as even though Tapu Koko doesn't have the best matchup against me, it's still, I mean, it's Randy. He's going to bring the Tapu Koko. I'm expecting to see Z in Nature's Madness, Guardian of Alola on that, because that'll be able to wear down my most likely switch-ins to this Koko and potentially give him an opening to win with it late game. This is why I brought double responses to the Tapu Koko, just for that exact reason. The Hawlucha, I'm expecting either Sky Attack with the Power Herb or the Electric Seed. Either way, I have proper responses to that in my Fizz Def Mew, as well as the bulky Nidoqueen and Rotom Heat, as well as the Chocolate Berry on my Cobalion. So I'm very heavily prepared for Tapu Koko plus the Hawlucha. Then he has the Jellicent, which because he brought it, I expect to be Rocky Helmet Fizz Def to help take on the Mega Kangaskhan and a potential Scolipede. The Meloetta, I'm expecting to be either Choice Scarf or Sub Calm Mind. Either way, I think I have proper responses to dealing with that, but that's probably one of the bigger threats that he brought against my team. Obviously, Hawlucha is a big threat as well, but and Hydrei-GAWN that I don't have switch-ins for. But anyways, Meloetta could easily be a big threat. Then the Cloyster, I'm expecting Shell Smash, I guess, because they brought it, but you know, it's kind of hard to know with Cloyster. But I guess we'll see what happens on that. And then Hydrei-GAWN, I'm expecting either Choice Specs or Life Orb, as it's a very solid breaker against my team. Now, looking at the mons that I brought here in this matchup, I have Mega Kangaskhan, which is a Spadef variant, like pretty much max Spadef, designed to be my Hydrei-GAWN response, as well as actually deal relatively well with Tapu Koko if he doesn't get up a Calm Mind, or doesn't hit me with an Electric Z move or something. It's also good against Meloetta and etc. All of the special threats you could have possibly brought against me, this was able to deal with quite well. Game plan is to Mega Evolve that on turn 1 so that I have the bulk immediately in this matchup, as there's no way he's going to lead with the Hawlucha on turn 1. That's the only thing that could immediately threaten me out, and he's just not going to do that. So that's kind of nice. Then I have a Nidoqueen, which is a variety of investment. It has investment in Fizz Def, Spadef, HP, a special attack, like all over the place. Feel free to go check that out in the team builder if you want to see the specifics on the EV spread, but basically it's a 4-attack set designed to not allow him to set up on me with anything, and as well as just take general hits from pretty much everything on his roster. So Nidoqueen's pretty cool for that. Obviously, Tapu Koko response, Rotom Heat, also a Tapu Koko response. My primary switch into the Tapu Koko because I am holding the Papa Berry with an even HP stat, allowing me to actually trigger my berry after the Guardian of Alola if he happens to go for that early game. That is what I would expect him to do if he has that particular Z move in this matchup. So that's what the Rotom Heat is designed to do, take that hit as well as get a Toxic off on the Hydrei-GAWN, as I am running Toxic on this, as well as Dual Stab and Will-O-Wisp in case he brought a Alolan Muck Toxic on the Hydrei-GAWN allows my Mega Kangaskhan to much more easily wear it down, as the only offensive option I have on the Mega Kangaskhan being Wish Protect and Toxic is Flamethrower. So then I have the Mew, which is, again, Fizz Def. It has Vacuum Wave to help me pick off the Cloyster, as well as get a little chip damage on the Hydrei-GAWN if needed. It has U-Turn, because he had a lot of things on his team that I don't really appreciate U-Turn, most notably the Meloetta and the Hydrei-GAWN. I can U-Turn on a potential Hydrei-GAWN switch-in, I can U-Turn on a potential sub-Meloetta, and get myself into an offensive check to it more safely in that regard, because with the nature that I have on this Mew being drop speed, it actually allows me to get off a U-turn pretty much for free against the Meloetta most of the time, which is nice. I don't think I actually mentioned this in the team builder, so I'll go ahead and mention it now. I made it so that my Mew and my Nidoqueen have the same speed stat, and that's because that allows me to know with certainty if what Pokemon I outspeed with my Nidoqueen based upon what my Mew outspeeds. As Mew's health can be recovered with Roost, Nidoqueen's health can't be recovered, so I need to know what exactly I can outspeed. Basically make sure if he were to bring the Mega Scizor that I can outspeed Mega Scizor with Mew based upon knowledge from the Nidoqueen. It's also nice to know versus the Jellicent in case he runs speed on that by scouting that out with the Mew, knowing if my Nidoqueen can outspeed that and Thunderbolt it. So just something to keep in mind there. Torn T is Life Orb for attacks, or is it 3 attacks? Shoot, it is Hurricane, it is Heat Wave, it is U-Turn, it is Grass Knot, it is 4 attacks in this matchup. Basically destroys his entire team. You can look at his roster and tell me right now he has no switch-ins to that. So yeah, Life Orb very powerful against this team with a little bit of bulk investment. And then the Cobalion is my Stealth Rocker in this game. Also having Volt Switch, I believe, to maintain momentum. So there's a lot of U-turn, a lot of Volt Switch on this team, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So let's go ahead and hop right on into the match, as I am expecting him to lead with the Tapu Koko, or potentially with the maybe with the Cloyster, but more likely the Tapu Koko or the Hydrei-GAWN. I think those two are the most likely leads because they do have U-turn. They have access to U-turn, and on paper they both can get off a major hit on turn 1. In his eyes, I could see him leading Tapu Koko to try to get off a Guardian of Alola on turn 1 against whatever my initial switch in is, and if he happens to lead Hydrei-GAWN, then obviously he's going to want to drop a Draco against my team because I did not bring any Dragon resists that are truly resists. Cobalion is pretty low spit F, so kind of painful. But let's go ahead and jump right on into this, and we'll see how this battle goes down here, as my opponent Randy is going to issue the challenge, and we are going to lead off with my Mega Kangaskhan, as we've already discussed that the Mega Kangaskhan needs to Mega Evolve immediately, as he leads off with Shaka Zulu, the Tapu Koko. So immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Protect as I Mega Evolve, because I don't fear any one attack this thing could go for. If he wants to go immediately for Guardian of Alola, obviously Protect will make it so that does like 15 or 16% to me, because it is nerfed based on, Z moves are nerfed when they hit a Protect, or if I can just Protect up on a Thunderbolt or a U-turn, whatever, then I just get my Mega off for free, so it's kind of nice. Now here, obviously going to Mega Evolve, going to click Protect as he goes into the Jellicent, so that tells me that this Jellicent is absolutely going to be Grass Knot, absolutely going to be physically defensive, as otherwise there's no reason for him to make this play. One thing I found kind of interesting about this sequence here is if I was Thunder Punch Mega Kangaskhan, he sets up the terrain for me and I could have just destroyed the Jellicent, but hey, you know, hindsight is 20/20 this time. I said 50/50 last time apparently, and people were calling me out for that, so hindsight is 20/20. Now here, I'm going to go straight into my Torn T on the Scald, and I'm going to be able to threaten him out with a Grass Knot here. Just going to go ahead and reveal it. I thought about going for a U-turn, just in case he wants to go into his Tapu Koko, expecting the knockoff, but I felt like Grass Knot was overall my best play, because getting damage on this Tapu Koko is going to be essential late game, as I do plan to get Stealth Rocks up very early or very soon here from this point, and yeah, every little bit of damage is good damage against the Tapu Koko, so I was willing to go for a Grass Knot there just in case he stayed in. Now here I'm going to go into my Rotom, expecting to potentially fire off that Guardian of Alola right now, as he actually goes for the Thunderbolt. So that's very interesting. The fact that he didn't go immediately for the Guardian of Alola tells me that he actually might not have it, especially considering he also has U-turn on this set. I'm not really sure what he is. I don't know, I just expected him to have a hidden power for Nidoqueen, Thunderbolt, and Grass Knot, and then Guardian of Alola. That's really what I expected to see, but he has U-turn as well. So very interesting. We'll see what happens on this, but I do manage to land the Toxic on the Hydrei-GAWN, which is very, very key. That was like step 1 of the game, step 2 of the game plan that I needed to execute to be able to win this game. 1 was to get the Mega off with Kang early. 2 was to get a Toxic on this Hydrei-GAWN to make sure it is not able to beat me down too hard in the short term. So now I'm going to go into my Cobalion. It's my offensive switch into this Hydrei-GAWN. Did not at all expect him to go for a Head Smash on this turn. I definitely expected a Draco Meteor, as I did have enough bulk investment to take 2 of them. even a Draco Meteor plus an Earth Power Fire Blast based upon my investment. So yeah, but he actually goes for a Head Smash. So cool. That's kind of awesome to hear. He makes a nice play. He stays in, expecting my Stealth Rocks, and he actually just goes for an Earth Power. And you're going to see here that my Cobalion actually has enough investment to just straight up chew this hit. That did it did a lot, actually. It did quite a bit. But, you know, it's probably like a modest Hydrei-GAWN, so that's not too bad, honestly, considering Cobalion's SPDF stat. But here I'm going to just go for a close combat, I believe, because I really have no reason not to. He can go into Jellicent if he wants to, but I have my rocks on the field, and I have Volt Switch on this Cobalion, so it's not a bad thing for me at all that he happens to go into the Jellicent, especially because it does not have Leftovers recovery. So now I can just go for a Volt Switch and get off that nice chip damage against the Jellicent, and we're going to go ahead and switch right on out here into POW, the Tornadus T. Now, this is going to come in here and it's going to take a Scald once again. Fortunately, do not get burned, meaning I'm going to be able to do more damage later on in the game with U-Turn versus a potential Meloetta. In a potential scenario versus a Meloetta. So I'm going to just go for a Grass Knot here, expecting him to potentially stay in, but more likely go back into Coco, as I'm just trying to wear that thing down over time, and you know, it'd be great to be able to wear that down, but he's actually just going to stay in and try to recover stall me a little bit, trying to rack up the Rocky Helmet damage, as Grass Knot being a special move still makes physical contact, and does trigger that Rocky Helmet, but he's only going to be able to get off one recover against me because the Grass Knot does have enough oomph behind it to be able to knock it out here in 2 hits. So down goes the Jellicent, so that's pretty awesome. Being able to get rid of that thing early means that Mega Kangaskhan has an easier time, honestly, against a lot of his team. Doesn't really have to fear getting Toxic as much as the Jellicent is what I would have most expected to carry Toxic to help him wear down a potential fat Mega Kangaskhan. As here he's going to go into his Tapu Koko. Again, my best play is to go into my Rotom Heat because I believe there is a chance, based upon the damage from the previous Thunderbolt, he actually might knock me into range of my Papa Berry with a Thunderbolt, and I'm still kind of expecting him to maybe have the Z Nature's Madness and maybe go for it there. He could have done it. Unfortunately, I missed out by just a few HP on my Papa Berry. I think, see, 44 times 2 is 88 times 2 is like 176, so I was very, very close to getting my berry triggered there and getting 50% of health back. Unfortunately, I think he gets either a low or mid roll and isn't able to trigger my berry, which is kind of unfortunate, but you know, it's okay. It is what it is. I'm going to go into my Nidoqueen after the Rotom goes down to force him out into whatever his switching is that doesn't exist. It's going to go into his Hydrei-GAWN. The only real switching he had to Poison Jab was the Jellicent, so getting rid of that early was definitely really nice for my Nidoqueen. Now with my Stealth Rocks on the field and this thing being able to come in on top of Coco every time it gets a kill, basically we're going to be able to trade kills now every single turn that he tries to get a kill with top of Coco, which is exactly the position I wanted to be in. Now here is kind of where it gets a little scary, as this could easily be a sub Meloetta, but I cannot leave my Nidoqueen in because otherwise I can lose to the Tapu Koko. So I'm forced to switch out into my best possible response to this, which could have been the Torn T. It could have been this Kangaskhan. I thought based upon his team composition he was most likely going to be a Scarfed Meloetta. So I go into Kangaskhan first, expecting a choice Scarfed Meloetta, but he actually is sub, and because he is sub, I expect him to be bulkier, meaning he does not have enough offensive investment to take me out with a Psychic in combination with my Life Orb damage on the Tornadus T. Fortunately, I got that right. If he was an offensive Calm Mind Meloetta with sub, that actually could have been pretty bad for me. Honestly, it would have been actually very bad. But fortunately, we're able to get that prediction correct in terms of his EV spread based upon his set, and I'm going to be able to fire off a U-turn on the Meloetta and go straight into my Cobalion, as I was not willing to go straight into my Mega Kangaskhan there in case he goes for another sub. The reason that's a problem is, like I said, my Kang only has Flamethrower for his offensive move, so all he has to do is click Calm Mind once and then I can't break his sub. So this is looking like the biggest threat to my team right now. I need to be able to wear this down, as unfortunately he knocks out my Cobalion with a Psychic, and I'm going to be able to go into my Torn T, and because I was not burned earlier by the Jellicent, I'm able to get off a good chunk of damage with a U-turn, and I'm going to now be switching straight back into my Mega Kangaskhan, expecting him to go for a Psychic. I do not at all expect him to try to go for a sub on the turn of a U-turn or a potential knockoff. He is going to go for the Psychic, and it's going to do laughable damage to the Mega Kangaskhan. This thing is so fat when you invest in its defenses, man. It's really, really fat. As here he's going to switch out and go straight into Chowder, the Cloyster, and that is not at all going to appreciate this Flamethrower, as he was definitely expecting me to be more physical, I think. Otherwise, the Cloyster play doesn't make much sense, as it's going to take well over half, I think, from a Flamethrower. Definitely in range of a second one, but I do not want to allow my Kangaskhan to take any unnecessary damage from this. Also, just in case he happens to be a King's Rock Cloister, I thought my best play was actually to switch into my Mew here because I do have the Vacuum Wave, and I know that even after a Shell Smash or even after a potential Adamant Icicle Spear, I would be outside of range of a hit from a Hawlucha, meaning that this is still an effective check to Hawlucha unless the Hawlucha gets a +2. Plus, I should be able to actually heal up on this thing potentially if needed. Plus, I have the leftovers in case he is threatened out and wants to switch. So I felt like this was a pretty safe play to make overall, as now I believe I'm just going to go for a safe Vacuum Wave as I have no reason not to. It forces him out, it forces him to come back into Rocks, and it appears that there is a decent chance he might actually be taken out by Rocks whenever he comes back in, so Vacuum Wave is definitely my best play there, as he's actually going to switch into the Meloetta and reveal the Wiki Berry. So he actually was the 50% berry of his own, and apparently we both barely missed out on triggering each other's berries, where my Rotom had it and his Meloetta had it as well. And we both, barely damaged underneath the threshold for that, so that's kind of funny. But here I am going to just go for a U-turn, because I have U-turn. I guaranteed underspeed due to my investment in lowered IVs and speed, and I'm going to be able to just U-turn on this Meloetta, break the sub, and this means I can go straight into my Torrentee and 1, get Regenerator health back, and 2, knock out the Meloetta with the U-turn essentially guaranteed from this range of health. So now we have him in the cycle of momentum. I still have the Mew healthy, which is really, really good. I have the Nidoqueen at full health, which is really, really good. I have all the tools I need in place to be able to deal with the combination of the Tapu Koko and the Hawlucha, which now that the Meloetta is gone, that's what he has to lean on to be able to win the game, and I really like my position at this point in the match, as I'm going to just go straight into my Lizards, the Mew, because Mew beats the entirety of his team, and I get a little more health back from leftovers, basically forcing him into his Tapu Koko, because what this does is as soon as it goes Tapu Koko, I can go into my Torn, because I don't need Torn anymore in this game. And what happens when he does that, because he's already revealed to have U-turn instead of Volt Switch, what that means is I get a free switch into my Nidoqueen and a free kill. Okay, so that's the situation we're in right now. So I'm going to be able to go straight into the Torrentee, sack this off on a likely Thunderbolt or maybe a U-turn, as he actually goes for a Nature's Madness, predicting the Nidoqueen. That's why I wasn't willing to make that Nidoqueen play at this stage in the game. That Nidoqueen's health is essential in terms of being a secondary check to Hawlucha in case he is Sky Attack and flinches me, and in terms of getting those free kills against the Tapu Koko each time the Tapu Koko gets a kill. So every time Tapu Koko does something, we trade. And here comes the Nidoqueen coming in for the trade. It's a very, very free Poison Jab on my end here, as or actually, I think Poison Jab is definitely my play here. Poison Jab as he goes into the Hawlucha, revealing the Electric Seed here in just a second. So he brought the good old Randy special, the Electric Seed Tapu Koko, or Electric Seed Hawlucha rather, and we're going to be able to get off a good chunk of damage actually, despite the fact that I'm actually a attack reducing nature on this Nidoqueen. It still does half to a +1 Hawlucha, so that's pretty crazy. As now I'm going to get some overkill with a Thunderbolt and Electric Terrain, and the Hawlucha will go down here, as now we're in a position where it's very tough to lose this game, I think, because the Mew is able to basically deal with this Cloyster. No matter what the Cloyster does here, it cannot beat my Mew. Unfortunately, it does survive Stealth Rocks, but Mew is a very safe switch-in, because I go Mew, I click Vacuum Wave. There's no drawback because the Rocks are on the field. And as soon as he goes Tapu Koko again, well, obviously, if he goes Tapu Koko, this dies to Rocks. And if he lets this go down and goes Tapu Koko, I just sack off Mew and beat it with Nidoqueen, because there's no way Tapu Koko can Oko Nidoqueen with absolutely any move or item combination in its arsenal. So Nidoqueen is certainly the win condition here at this stage in the game, as he does go for the Icicle Spear with the Cloyster. As I go into my Mew, get the leftovers recovery back once again, and of course once again I have the Vacuum Wave bailing me out against this Cloyster. Definitely glad I brought this. I was debating between something like Vacuum Wave and Heal Bell actually on the Mew to better support the Kangaskhan, but I figured if I just play well with the Kangaskhan, I shouldn't be getting toxic. I can work around that and make sure I don't get toxic, and yeah, really made the right call here with bringing the Vacuum Wave in this matchup, as we are able to pick off the Cloyster, and now he's going to go into his Tapu Koko. And if I was a tryhard really trying to get that 3-0 win, I could have gone hard into my Nidoqueen to predicting the electric move and basically securing the 3-0, but just in case he is still Z Nature's Madness and plays for my choke and goes for it right here, I have to stay in with my Mew, and turns out he is actually Electrium Z, so I could have gone into my Nidoqueen and gotten the 3-0, but differential Yeah, it's important, but it's not worth risking the game over something silly like that. So I am going to sack off my Mew here, and it's, you know, if he wasn't Electrium Z, I actually would have survived this hit, and I did click U-turn here, and I would have been able to U-turn into Nidoqueen and still get the 3-0, so again, that's why I stayed in with Mew. But yeah, Electrium Z means I could have gone Nidoqueen and preserved the differential point, but you know, it is what it is. He's able to take out the Mew, but Nidoqueen comes in, and we're going to be able to knock out the Tapu Koko, I believe, with an Earth Power here on the final turn of the game as he goes for a Desperation Nature's Madness, knowing there's nothing else in his arsenal that can do over half to me, and down goes the Tapu Koko. So the Toronto Raptors do pick up a huge win against Randy and the Texas Rangers. We were both 3-2 going into this game. I think I was like +6 differential. He was +5. I was on a 2-game losing streak. He was on a 1-game losing streak, so we both really needed that win. Super fortunate to be able to pull this one out against a really solid player. Once again, make sure to go check out his channel, linked in the description below. Just check out his side of this battle if you want to, or just check out his content from the rest of the season. I know a lot of you guys haven't done it yet because he is a little bit unknown. Go give him a look. I highly recommend him. Seriously, he's a very good content creator, very good commentator, and a cool builder too. Like, he builds a lot of really fun, fast offensive teams, and like, that's what his draft is. Obviously, you saw what his draft was, or even what the team was that he brought. But his builds they look really fun, honestly. So just go give him a look. He's quite possibly the best Tapu Koko user I've seen this gen, honestly. So yeah, make sure to go check him out. And I think that about wraps this up. So Toronto Raptors are now 4-2 with a +8 differential. Not too bad. We're still, I believe, in 3rd place in the league after this. So we're kind of just chilling in 3rd place after picking up those couple losses against, or even just after the loss to Aster. We have been consistently in 3rd place in the league every single week since. So that's still fine. Top 4 still makes playoffs, so it's not really a bad thing, honestly, that we lost a couple games. Because, yeah, like, top 4 make playoffs, and when you're number 3 instead of number 1, there's no target on your back. So, like, you know, I'm okay with this, quite honestly. So, next week we have a game against Papa C and the New York Lynx. They are winless, actually, this season, but that's not to say he's not a solid player, as his games have been close. His team is freaking terrifying. He has Manaphy, Sand Offense, Hoopa U, and Mega Pidgeot, and these are all things I don't really have switch-ins for, so, oh boy, that'll be a little bit spooky to prep for, but you know, we'll do what we can, and I think we still have the tools to work around it, despite the fact that it's not going to be an easy game whatsoever. In fact, it might be very, very tough, just based upon not having switch-ins to his offense, really, but I've got a lot of spooky stuff on my team as well that I think I can work with. So that's enough on next week's matchup. You'll see that when we get there, but thanks again for watching, guys. Something in my throat. Excuse me. And, you know, I guess we're done here. So I will see you all next week. Peace.